Hi, it's Steve from PartSelect. Today we're going to show you how to change the defrost heater on your refrigerator, and it's a really easy job. All we're going to need is a Phillips screwdriver, a 1/4-inch nut driver, and maybe a pair of needle nose pliers. Let me show you how we do it. Now, to do this repair, since we will be working near some electrical circuits, we will need to disconnect the power, so simply pull the plug. We're going to begin by opening the freezer door, and we're going to remove all the items on the shelves and then the shelves themselves. As well as the bin on the bottom. We'll also need to remove the ice bucket, so just lift up on it, unlatch it, and then pull it forward and set that aside. Now next, with a Phillips screwdriver, we're going to remove the light shield. There's a single screw on the top of this shelf that we'll need to remove. And then we can just slide that shield a little bit to the left, and then it will drop down. There are two slotted tabs on the outside that have a little hook on them that fit up through slots on the back of that shelf to hold it in place. We'll next remove two Phillips screws at the very top of that evaporator cover. Now next, we suggest that you take the light bulb out so that we don't damage it, and set that aside. And we'll then remove the two Phillips screws at the top of the evaporator cover. And on this particular model, the two screws in the bottom are 1/4-inch hex heads. So we'll need to remove those as well. Now use caution when removing these screws that we don't drop them down into the drain hole at the bottom. If need be, it's a good idea to put a little piece of tape over that, just so you don't lose one of those screws and potentially plug that drain. Now we can take that evaporator cover and just pull the left-hand side forward, pivot it away from the shelf mounting brackets, and we can set that aside. Now next, we're going to pull that wire harness away from the styrofoam block. Have to push that out the back. You may need to use your screwdriver to pull it away from that styrofoam block. And then route it down the side. And then we can disconnect the heaters. Well, next we'll remove the Phillips screws that hold those heaters to the brackets. And again, make sure that we have that drain hole protected, so that we don't lose any screws or plug the drain. These are glass tube heaters, so use caution when working near them. Then remove the two screws for the middle one. And now we can just lift those heaters away from the evaporator coils. And pull that remaining harness from in behind. We'll take the old heaters and the defrost thermostat and discard them. Now, when installing the new heaters, we suggest that you put the bottom one on first, and the two mounting brackets on each side have a little tab on them just to hold it in place long enough to install the screws. And tighten both of those screws. Now next we're going to lift that middle heater up into position. And do the same, we'll hang it over the two mounting tabs. And use caution when handling these heaters that your hands don't come in contact with the glass tubes, because oils from your flesh will cause that to prematurely fail. So if you inadvertently touch them, you'll need to clean them before installing them. So we'll make sure that we tuck that white wire on the left side in out of the way so that it won't get pinched with the evaporator cover. And then the pink and blue wires on the right side, we're going to route that pink one in behind that lower mounting tab. And then just pull them both up the side and just temporarily poke them over the top. So next we're just going to tuck those wires in back. Use a little caution around those evaporator coils. Those aluminum fins are a little sharp. And we're going to route those two wires, both the pink and the blue, into that slotted opening on the back of the styrofoam block. And again, you may need to use your screwdriver just to push those over into place. Pull them forward. Now next we'll reinstall the defrost termination thermostat. So just pull that harness out of the way. And then we're going to take the termination thermostat, and again with that little horseshoe spring clip, we're going to snap that on that top portion of tubing over on the left hand side here. And press it firmly onto that tubing. And we're going to reconnect the harness connector, make sure they fit tight, and then we're going to tuck it up into that harness retainer clip, as well as the one on the right hand side here. Just double check and make sure all the wires are pulled out of the way so that they won't get pinched, and then we can put the evaporator cover back on. So first thing, make sure that we have the gasket in place on the side of that evaporator cover, and it just snaps into the edge. And we're going to tuck the right hand side in first, in behind the shelf brackets. So we'll start by installing the two screws on the top. And just lift up on that cover and get it up into position. Just start one of the screws to hold it there. Do the same on the opposite side. And line up the two holes on the bottom and install those two screws. And make sure all four screws are tight. And then don't forget to uncover the drain hole. And we're ready to put the shelves and the ice bucket back in. So our next step will be to replace the light bulb and the shield. And remembering that the tabs will slide up through a little gap at the back of that bottom shelf and the front of the auger motor. So keep it to the left until we've got it fully inserted, then slide it over to the right and it should hang there on its own. Install the retaining screw and then the ice bucket. And lift up on it to make sure that it goes all the way back and locks in. Just check that the ice maker is turned on. And then we'll reinstall the bin in the bottom of the freezer. And the shelves. Hook them into the left side first and snap them down into the brackets on the right. We can now put all of the items back into the freezer, close the door, reconnect the power, and our repair is complete.
I told you it was an easy job. Thanks for watching, and good luck with your repair.